Just want to say that before you listen to this podcast, that two things you'll notice. One is my dog was very active and chatty during the recording, so I apologize if you hear him yelling at me. He is a husky, and they tend to do that. The other thing is that I got really excited at times, and so I apologize if I started speaking really fast. I try to calm myself down a lot of times during the podcast recordings, but at times I know I got too excited, so I apologize, and maybe slow me down, put me on 0.7 speed or something like that, and you'll be able to understand me a little bit better. So I apologize. I hope you enjoy the rest of the pod.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Who is this person I'm speaking to? Is this RJ?
I don't know. It's I was actually just before you said, okay, let's go and click the button to start recording, I was going to ask you when the last episode was.
That was, I think we recorded at the very beginning of July, so it's been about 2 months. Yeah, funny actually. Just before we got on, I was sitting here just scrolling through Instagram and not paying attention at all, and I don't know how long RJ was there. I just all of a sudden saw him waving wildly at me. So that's kind of where we are. Is not really in sync. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, and we had these plans for doing a recording while I was in Europe. I've been dragging the laptop and microphone and everything around for almost a month. And
and that's such a pain because you have to get it out when you go through the airport and all that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's and getting it installed when I was on Antholz and in Hochfilzen, I was all ready to go.
No.
Had Anna Gantler and Doro sitting next to me, and
I know
nothing.
Well,
no,
and you guys didn't even record anything. You guys are just chatting.
No, yeah, you know how it goes. It's either together or not.
Yeah,
unless you decide to not show up for races in Canmore. But
that's true. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were gone for a few weeks.
Yeah, we were in Europe for a full month. So it was fantastic. I don't think I've ever been so close to numerous biathlon stadiums from the World Cup without actually visiting one. But I was saying earlier, we were, I think, less than 100 kilometers as the crow flies from Antholz, but to actually drive there from the valley that we were in to the valley that Antholz is in was going to take almost 4 hours. So to do that for a quick day trip is a bit much. And it's kind of similar to
convince the family to do that.
Hochfilzen. Yeah, exactly. And it's not like I couldn't go for a day, but if it was an hour drive, then I would have liked to do that. Just to, I mean, ranges are not that exciting in the summer, right? So it's,
yeah. The real excitement would be
still,
who do you see there, right? But
yeah, and just, I mean, I every Monday I'm in Canmore and sometimes on the weekend, and you always kind of, I typically get passed by other roller skiers, and I'm always like, oh, I wonder if that's so and so, but. Yeah, there's especially Canmore. There's so many. Yeah, but there's national team athletes from the cross country skiing, and then there's just so many younger athletes from the numerous training groups, both cross country skiing and biathlon. That it's the odds of running into a World Cup athletes are not that large because they just tend to train when there's no one else around, right? So
exactly.
And what have you been doing? Holding the fort in Florida?
Yeah.
Fort Florida?
Just hanging out, living life.
Any tornadoes or hurricanes?
No tornadoes or hurricanes. I mean, there was a hurricane that hit further up along the coast, but we're fine. Yeah, and really nothing, just regular summer stuff. The kids are swimming, and just going to work, watching some summer biathlon. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Let's get into that right away. How's your summer biathlon going?
Hang on.
Roller skiing.
hang on. Well, no, my summer roller skiing is not happening. The Florida Biathlon Club has not gotten off to a good summer training schedule. In fact, it's gotten off to a 0 training schedule. And even if
you're
it
more
was,
taking
I actually
the resting approach.
we're resting up for the winter. We don't want to burn ourselves out. We have a limited amount of energy, so we got to save it up for the winter. Though actually, I did want to say I wasn't just doing nothing while I was sitting here. The biathlon timeline that I had talked about for a while is finally up. I just posted it today, so it is up.
That is great news.
I've already gotten some very nice feedback on it, so I appreciate everybody who's mentioned it. It is literally a timeline. It's not like big huge paragraphs. Scroll through it. The headlines are there to try to tell you exactly kind of what happened on that date, and then you can kind of read more about it if you want to. But you can scroll through as fast as you want. I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting. So I finally finished that. Now I'm on to my next big project, which is biathlon stories. So we'll have to work on that. And at the rate I'm going, it will not be finished by the time the season starts. So that'll probably be a next summer project.
Yeah. Well, that could also be a continuous process, maybe.
Yeah, it's one of those things I'll probably just do, like 20 minutes here or there whenever I get a chance. So that's the big thing I was doing over the last month.
And in the meantime, you've been keeping track of everything that's happening in biathlon world?
Trying to. One of us had to. You were off gallivanting around Europe,
Yeah. I had big plans to keep an eye on it, but
got these pictures of you, up above the tree line, hiking around. Got some worrying health updates that your knees were giving out, and then you needed emergent knee replacements. I don't know how your knees are doing these days.
Yeah, I actually ended up buying 2 braces at a pharmacy on Venice. So at least they have special meaning.
Yeah. Your Venetian
it's
braces.
Funny because I was, in Holland and Germany, I would say it's almost hard to find people that don't speak a little bit of English. Mm-hmm. In Italy, there's definitely pockets where, you get the yes, hi, and that's kind of it. So going to this local pharmacy in a tiny village, not too far from where we were staying, and trying to explain a knee brace led to some very interesting situations. But
oh man, those poor people working there, they're probably like, "What does this man want?"
Yeah, exactly. Because
I'm sorry, sir, we don't do that
even Google Translate or Apple Translate is not specific enough for because I wanted knee braces, but I don't know if you call them baleens here, but it's basically these strips of plastic that run along the side of your knees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And every time they came up with those, basically a tight sock without a foot on it. And I'm like, no, I need the plastico.
Yeah. Quick story about Google Translate in Italy. We were in Sicily in 2019, and it was a small town. We were there for a wedding of a very close friend, and we were staying at this hotel, and we didn't speak Italian. The people at the hotel, because we got in a little bit late, they didn't speak English, and so we were trying to use Google Translate because we wanted to know, where do we park the car, because we just need to know, where does the car go. And so
the dog remembers too.
Yeah. So where do we park the car? And so we would say, where do we park the car? And he would give us back the answer, put it into Google Translate. And it was like, that doesn't make any sense, because the answer was, go park by the uncle. It's like, what does that mean? Go park by the uncle? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. To this day, I have no idea what he was trying to say, but he was able to sort of point us in a general vague direction, and we found out where we were supposed to park. But
you were supposed to park next to the car from Uncle Luigi.
Uncle Luigi, yeah, you're right. Yes. So, you can, Google Translate. It's great. It is amazing. Not always perfect.
I found it amazing that we were in this, it was super cool, actually. It was an amusement park built by a retired engineer who is now, I think, in his late 80s. And every attraction is not powered by electricity. So it's all man-powered. You have to push up your own cart or sled, or, there's some slides and that kind of thing. But
yeah, I like that.
It was pretty neat. But then all the signs were, of course, only in Italian. So with Apple Translate, you can also take a picture and it will actually translate all the words on it. Mm-hmm. So that was super helpful. Never used that before. So. Mm-hmm.
All right. So there was some biathlon that took place this summer. Well, I shouldn't say this summer because it's still ongoing. We're sort of at the midway point of it. But I guess we should probably chat about it. I think people are probably maybe going to want to hear about that at some point.
Yeah.
So you want to just jump into it?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. How do you feel about, like, in your mind, do you mentally rank the importance or the fun of the summer competitions like Blink and Summer Worlds and Martin Fourcade and the Wiesbaden event?
I personally don't really take them too serious. Like, I think it's one of those events, if you do really well, you are probably going to say, I'm on the right track. It's a good sample of where I'm at. If you're not doing well, it's easy to say, well, it's just a summer event. So
yeah,
not too worried about it. I don't know. I think I would think for younger athletes, it's a great exposure to racing under pressure, especially, summer worlds is, definitely a bit more serious. And I don't know if they get any prize money, but there's definitely prizes to win.
Yeah. It's real hard work.
So I don't know. But yeah, the fact that at the Summer Worlds, the top Norwegians aren't there, the Germans aren't there, you can't really draw too many conclusions from it. But
yeah,
obviously you can see things like, Biba ski form is really good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's why I kind of like, I made my list of things and I didn't, they're all just positive things, right? The Czech team looked really good, right? Fialkova, she's back, looks good, right? So that's right. I think I agree. That's how I feel too. If you see something that looks really good, that's a good sign. If you see something that looks bad, don't worry about it. Might not mean anything at all. I think you just don't know where somebody is in their training. They're just, it just, I don't panic. Just enjoy the fun things. Do you put any evidence, or not evidence, but any emphasis on the more like the all-star events? So in Wiesbaden or in Fourcade, do you like having that collection of high, like the bigger names, so to speak? Does that mean anything to you, or is it just plain fun?
I don't know. I'm kind of similar thoughts. Those are actually two. Like, I've seen Wiesbaden a couple of years ago. I've never seen the Fourcade races, so I can't. From that perspective, I can't really say. But, knowing that they're so particular about their summer schedules and how they're planned towards peaking in certain times, and you have to realize that some are probably, for skiing for example, not even close to the peak they want to have at some point, maybe at Worlds or whatever it is. But what it does make me think of regularly is are we looking 20 years in the future? That just keeps popping up, where I'm like, is this eventually going to be at least a more serious aspect of biathlon?
Yeah,
not because we want to, but it's just a reality.
I started a post on the website just sort of talking about like some of the just summarizing some of my thoughts about some of the summer events so far, and I put that on there. Is that we don't emphasize it right now, but is 20 years from now are we going to have to? Is the just sort of the nature of the world, we're going to have to think about this as maybe not equal, but as also important. Is there going to have to be more of a summer schedule? I don't know. We'll see.
Or are we going to have races in on glaciers in Kaprun for as long as they last, at least.
Yeah. That would make me sad, actually.
So, yeah, anyway, that's what from what I have seen from the Martin Fourcade, I think that atmosphere, and also Blink, that's sort of how I would anticipate the Biathlon World Cup to be like in 20 years.
Yeah.
With amazing crowd. Because, I mean, in all reality, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'd be incredibly sad if that's where we're going. But at the same time, you have to, I guess, also look at the positives that imagine the crowds and ski courses that go through a town rather than, through the woods, which, in itself, I would love to keep everything in the woods the way it is. Like, I love that, and especially places like Norway where there's a lot of 3-4 rows of crowd along the whole track. But there's definitely something to be said for the excitement of having it in a city environment. I know that cross country skiing, I don't know if they still do, but a number of years back they had numerous races on the season where they actually would do it in a city, where they just basically brought in snow and rolled it out. And, again, I wouldn't want to see it go like that all the time, but maybe one or two events could be pretty interesting. But
absolutely. And you see what, if you happen to, I would definitely encourage you to take a look at Fourcade Festival, and it's very pretty. The way they have it set up.
It's coming up soon, right?
This weekend. Yeah.
This weekend. Okay. Yeah.
And it's right there along the lake. It's gorgeous. And I could definitely see the appeal of it. And it's fan friendly the way they have it set up. And I get it. It's not the sport that we fell in love with necessarily, but it might just be kind of where we need to go if we want to keep the sport growing.
And it doesn't, like the accomplishment itself, it doesn't really take much away from that. Because, I mean, I don't know what roller skis they're on. I personally ski on like medium wheels, which make you go, for me, it feels like, at my skill level, at least, it's the same amount of effort that I need to put in, maybe a little less, but there's definitely things you can do to not make it too easy on the roller skis or not too fast for safety reasons. So, I mean, in the end, it's still all out skiing and then having to bring down that heart rate and shoot under high pressure circumstances. So that's the part that sort of makes me feel less worried about it. Like, I don't see climate change get rid of, like, downhill skiing is going to have a really hard time when they start running out of snow.
Yeah.
I know there's something called grass skiing, but it's,
it can't be the same. Yeah.
Not be even close.
Yeah.
Where, roller skiing and shooting is still pretty darn close to the real thing. Not the same, but in that sense, it keeps me, at least looking at it in a positive way, that the sport's not necessarily going to go away, but be pretty sad if they have to cancel so many races that you get like a...
Yes. Yeah. So how about we start with the recently completed Summer World Championships?
Was that in Estonia?
Yes. Same place as Otepää, which I guess is how you pronounce it. I probably mispronounced it, which is really difficult to do with nice consonant sounds, but, leave me to it. Where they were a couple years ago for the 21-22 season? Yeah. They ended up there. It was nice. The fans were great. I think you probably watched exactly 0 minutes of it.
I would say two or three.
2 or 3 minutes? Okay.
Yeah,
what was your impression in those 2 minutes?
No, I was literally noticing it on my phone when we got back here, and I sat down on the couch, and then the kids were like, "Oh, I need to. Why do I put this and that?" After unpacking, and then I just kind of lost track of it, and gave
No,
up.
of course.
But what was the field like? Was it missing all the stars, or?
Yeah, I mean, the Norwegian juniors were there. There were a handful of, I really was, the Claude brothers were there from France, as far as, senior level guys.
All three?
All three. Yep.
Cool.
And the Czech team was there, which was really, we'll talk about them in a little bit. And then it was a lot of like I would say like not your big. So Germany wasn't there. Not a lot of, I think there were a couple of Swedes that were there. So, but it was mostly, Czech Republic, Ukraine, Finland, Bulgaria, Poland, right? And then a little bit better representation with the juniors.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to start off with this isn't the most important thing as far as, biathlon is concerned, but just, I really, really, really enjoyed Sunday's mass starts. They were just really fun, emotionally gratifying winners. So for the men, you had Zakna, who was, of course, performing in front of his Estonian fans, and led pretty much. He was in the front the entire way, and then for the last shoot, he gets there and he misses the first three, and ends up 39 seconds for his final shoot, but he gets the last two targets down. And stays clear for the win. And the fans were obviously extremely excited about it. And the fans were great all week long. And then to have that to be like the last big men's race of the week was pretty cool that they got to cheer for that. And I was nervous when he missed those first three, because he had
no kidding, eh?
a solid little lead when he got there. And it was like, oh boy, But
and how did the other shoot?
I'm sorry. He got a little bit fortunate that there were other guys behind him that had a couple of misses too. So,
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was a whole bunch of clean shooting going on, and he was like he, there was, I think I think Emilia and Claude was in second place, I think, entering the range, and had 4 misses in the last shoot, and Jonas Maracek from the Czech Republic got the silver medal. He had a couple of misses. Rostar Guyevs was the bronze medal winner. But it was a little bit of a messy final shoot. But I was really, really happy for Renee to get that victory, and happy for the fans too. And then, so I was thinking, like, great, I always love, somebody winning in front of their home fans. It's always really cool. You get that image of them crossing the line with like the home flags flying in the background. I was like, this is it, peak. The women's race is just gonna be fun. And then Baiba Bendika with the race of the week, in my opinion, at least it's just me personally, I was just so blown away. She's had a really good summer. We'll talk about Blank in a little bit, but she was the fastest woman up Lisboden. She's been racing really well. She's still not even quite a year from her son being born, and she went out there in the mass start and brought home the gold. Started out with a couple misses in the first shoot, and I think she was like in 27th place at that point, and to the point where like she wasn't really on my radar, because I was like, right. You're kind of focusing on the top people. I wasn't even aware that she was that far back. And then she goes 14 to 15 the rest of the way. 3 of the laps, excuse me. I think lap was it 2, 3, and 5. She was the fastest. She ended up with the fastest course time, and comes in, cleans the last shoot. She came in third, right? Wow. And for the last shoot, cleans it, and then throws down that fastest final lap to get away for the win. And that was, I am of course biased. I will never say I'm not biased when it comes to Bai, but just she was our second guest. We've had her on more than anybody else. She's always generous with her time. I think that a lot of fans feel the same way too. She's opened up, a lot of behind the scenes stuff with her YouTube, and she's always willing to answer a question on social media. And it was like just really awesome, especially, she's, like I said, just less than a year from her son being born, seeing her win that. And she posted a picture on Instagram of her son wearing the gold medal and holding the bear. And of course, like he's not even a year old. So like, it's a bit of a, awesome. It's a fun picture. And it's just like, it really, like, I'm going to get a little emotional just thinking about it, but like, I just was really, really happy for her. Like, that is somebody who works so hard. And I think everybody acknowledges everybody works hard, but she just really, really works hard. And that she's got things that she wants to do better at and struggles with. And for her to go into that last shoot and nail 5 for 5 and get away, like that was awesome.
That's almost like a double impressive, right? With shooting clean plus doing it in the final shoot.
Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah. And I could not be happier for her. That was really magnificent. So that was my big takeaway from Worlds was it was fun, I think a lot of times we think of summer biathlon and it's not winter biathlon, but it was really fun. I really enjoyed Summer Worlds.
Nice. And was this one of the races that count? Do they still do that? That summer championship with the Fourcade and was it Wiesbaden?
Yeah, is like their sort of like their summer circuit. They talked about it. They don't really emphasize it. I think they advertise the IBU definitely like shines a spotlight on them, but it hasn't come together as like a summer circuit, so to speak.
I felt like last year was a bit of a push to get all the athletes to go, and I think a lot of athletes are like, well, it doesn't fit my plan for the summer. So,
and then you look at what happened to Thomas McKiska, and we'll talk about him later. But he wrecked his knee last year. He was having a great summer Worlds. Wrecked his knee last year, and he missed part of the season. Came back, and then I think he only raced for a couple of weeks, and then took the rest of the year off to recover. And so I was like, is it really worth the injury, especially when you're a top tier athlete? And I think that they actually announced before Summer World started that it's no longer going to be a yearly thing. It's going to be every other year.
Okay.
In an effort to try to get, they said this was in response to talking with like some of the bigger federations that in order to get more of the athletes there, they'll do it every other year. And we'll see if that works. I'll believe it when I see it. The athletes clearly aren't opposed to participating, right? Because they, especially the Norwegian athletes and a few others show up at Blink. There's the Fourcade Festival that there will be a whole bunch of A-list names at. There's Wiesbaden. So we just got to figure out a way to.
Yeah. And I mean, well, I guess it's a bit different if you're in a race, but I mean, they roller ski so much that I can't see that it's really an increase of risk.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're probably, if there's no world championships, they'll probably be roller skiing somewhere else.
I'm positive they were all roller skiing last week.
Yeah. So it's, it does. I think it was 3 years ago, but maybe even longer, where I think it was a summer race in Germany where Tarje Bo fell like 2 or 3 times. He had issues with his binding and not like on a slow part, like he made some major crashes. I had a near miss yesterday. And then I actually had to, Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was roller skiing. I was just going back to the parking lot, and then I saw a mountain biker make a big crash. So I had to run over there through the grass, and in the meantime, kick off my roller skis. And it was interesting, but
nice.
He was okay. He had to be taken off in the
that was a big
ambulance, but he seemed to be doing okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank goodness for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also
an athlete that jumped out to you just in general for the Summer Worlds, or
I got a bunch. I think so I'll run through them all eventually. So this isn't really a ranking order, but it was really great to see Paulina Batovska-Fialkova back. She missed last year when she was pregnant, so this is her first season of competition back as a mom, and she looked great. She won the
how old she is?
She's got like 33. Let me check this real quick. But
it's a bit of an older athlete for biathlon.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it wasn't even like, at least in my mind, I don't think she ever cast any doubt on it. But in my mind, anyway, it wasn't like a sure thing that she was going to come back. But I mean, she won the super sprint. She got bronze in the sprint, and I think that she was. Let me double check. 7th in the in the mass start. And she looked good, right? She definitely looked good. So it was really nice to see her back out there. Claire Egan,
is she the
Slovakian woman?
No, No, I was going to say, is she the athlete where last year, is she a former winner, like World Cup winner? And
she's definitely a winner.
Some people are like, she should not come back anymore.
So she was 6th overall a handful of years ago, 2018, 2019. Sorry, I have to check my. Yeah, so she's good, and there was conversation that she might not come back, but and good thing for the Slovakian Federation because they're a little bit on tough times, but yeah, she came back and she looked good. So I was excited. I'm not going to say, oh, well, this is a sure thing. She's going to be, getting podiums this next year. But I think we've seen people come back from maternity leave clearly and be just as competitive, if not more so. So that was really fun to see.
I cut you off when you were going to say something about Claire Egan.
Yeah, I mentioned just how cool it was, how many different moms there were competing, because there was Paulina Vitovska-Fialkova was out there. And this leads in perfectly to what I was going to say. Biba was out there and, of course, got the mass start win. And then Milena Todorova returned for Bulgaria and looked really good. And the Bulgarian women were another one of the groups I was going to mention. They looked superb. So we had Valentina Dimitrova and Laura Hristova, who were competing actually on the juniors. We see them mostly actually on the World Cup now, but they still technically are juniors, which is hard to believe. And then Todorova competed, of course, on the senior level and looked pretty good. And Todorova ended up 8th in the super sprint, had a couple other good finishes. But Hristova and Dimitrova won every single juniors race. So in the super sprint, Hristova won the gold and Dimitrova was 4th. They flipped positions for the sprint, and then in the pursuit, they went 1-2, I think. Yeah, Dimitrova and then Hristova went 1-2. So they were magnificent. You have to be excited because Todorova herself isn't that old. I think she's like 25 or 26. So that's three women, not even close to the prime of their career, really. And so the Bulgarian team is up and coming. That was really fun to see. And we've known they were coming, but it was nice to. I didn't say it was nice. It was just really cool to see them perform like that.
Was Bulgaria the team that Rico Gross was going to coach, and then he decided after a couple of weeks? I don't know how that went, but that didn't go through. But that was Bulgaria.
I do remember that. I don't remember if it was them, but yeah.
Well,
so really loved that.
Maybe they don't need him.
Apparently, yeah, they're doing awesome,
doing okay.
Yeah. They're seriously, they are like one woman shy of having a really competitive relay team, a really competitive young relay team.
Right.
That was really neat. And then the team that I think impressed me the most was the Czech team, and they've got totally new coaching staff, right? The men and women both new coaching staffs. And I was reading I don't know who runs their website. But if you guys haven't checked it out, the Czech Biathlon website does a really good job of keeping you updated of what the athletes are doing, even more so than I think some of the bigger federations do. And so they've got some good interviews and good little snippets in there. And they talked about how Kirchmarch was not, his body wasn't responding as well. He's a little bit on the quote unquote older side for biathlon. I want to be careful how I say that because he's really not old. He's, but older than some of his teammates, and so he was struggling a little bit, but the rest of his teammates were doing really well. And Davidova skipped out because she's had a pretty busy summer, and so they said they just told her not to compete, just to rest up and get ready for the next training session. Right. But everybody else that came showed up and raced really well. Teresa Vorbonikova looked awesome. She won the sprint. She got bronze in the mass start. So we've been talking about her for a few years now. She was 5th in the super sprint. But she really looks like on it. She looks like she could take sort of almost like an Anna Gondler step next year, if not, or maybe because remember Gondler was awesome to finish this year, but Vorbonikova as well was top 20 in each of the last 6 races last season. She had a personal best of 5th last year. So she's looks like she's ready to take another step. Also for the women, Sharvatova won a bronze in the super sprint. Did I get that wrong? No, so bronze in the super sprint. She was 8th in the sprint. They had
She was fourth in the mass start, right?
Yeah.
Sharvatova. What's the main difference between the sprint and the super sprint?
Right. So super sprint is for it's the shorter distance 4 shoots. And then they do like a qualifying too. So there are 4 heats of qualifying for the final 30.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I was going to mention for the Czech was that the men also, it wasn't just the women. The men also really had a good run. Makiska was bronze in the super sprint. Stratecki won the gold in the sprint. I think Maricek, got silver in the mass start. They had a young man, David Elias, I believe, who won the junior super sprint. So and they just had, it seemed like every single race the Czech had somebody in the podium. They had multiple people in the top 10 every race. So I couldn't have been more impressed with how they performed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they just set up their summer to perform well at this, or is this like the new coaching staffs are really having a nice early impact.
Right. Yeah, you made a great overview for me with all the results. And I must say the Ukrainian flag is very present.
Oh, it is.
I saw a significant amount of Polish flags, especially on the women's side as well. So that was,
I'm glad you mentioned that. Cool, yeah. So I thought the Polish team had a really great week. They were just like constantly getting themselves into the top 10, like, one or two women every single race. And that was, you could see it both in the juniors and at the senior level. It looked like, I think Joanna Yakiela had a really great year last year, where we started to notice her name a little bit more. She looked really good. Kamila Zuk was back. She had that injury, so she missed most of last season. She had a couple of really good races as well. Didn't see as much from Natalia Sidorovich. I don't know if she's injured or just body wasn't quite ready for it, but yeah. And then you mentioned the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians performed well up and down. You pick a race, you're gonna see a lot of Ukrainian flags, especially on the junior side.
Through the women's sprint is the only race of the, I think, 8 races that you put in this list that does not have a Ukrainian flag in the top 10.
Yeah, it's pretty magnificent, isn't it? Yeah, the Ukrainians are just all up and down the map, and oftentimes it's not just one; it's like 2 or 3 or 4. So it's pretty awesome. And then last big thing for me actually was the women's sprint race. So I'm glad you mentioned that as well. I mentioned earlier Vorbonikova won it. Fialkova was the bronze, but Lotte Lee finished in second place. She had she was going all out to the line and finished 0.1 seconds out of the gold medal. Yeah, 0.1. So we'll talk about Belgian championships later, but she had herself an amazing couple of weeks there. So I'm really, really happy for her. Yeah, that's pretty magnificent. So that, of course, was not comprehensive for
I had one more
Summer
question.
Worlds, but yeah.
So was it only the men who had some junior athletes from Norway?
I didn't see any junior women. To be honest, I didn't scour the
there's
the
list,
actually. But
I'm just
Fotstad. Oh, you are correct. Yep.
Yeah, and then Berg Knudsen and Brodhagen. But do you remember seeing if they were fast? Like, were they one of the faster skiers or rollers, I guess?
Didn't look at it, if I'm being totally honest.
No, that's all good.
I can pull it up right now, actually.
Because they did actually pretty well. They had for the
they were pretty
junior
fast.
Men super sprint, they had a 4th and a 9th.
The
women had a 3rd, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah, the junior men were fast. I remember that, but the women I do not remember.
Right. Okay.
See, I underprepared.
It's all good. I'm curious how many of these guys we'll actually see on the World Cup one day.
That's a good question. Yeah. There's so many of them. There are people that we've never heard of that will be on the World Cup next year. Well, maybe not World Cup because there are too many old guys blocking the way.
Yeah. Well, and how long are they gonna keep Oh man, I'm drawing a blank now.
Tarjei?
No, the guy that came up only a couple of years ago was second on the World Cup 2 years in a row.
Oh,
it was only fourth or fifth last year or the year before.
You're talking about not Dalla.
I know he has a long name, double name, and I can't think of it. You know what I mean, but
yeah, not Dalla. Skjævedal, right?
No.
Johannes Tarjei.
No.
Oh, Boten.
Lagrit.
Oh.
You know, he was second.
The other
one.
The other really great one.
He's starting to drop. So how long is he still?
That's true.
Secured.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. He's on the brink. He's on the bubble.
Significant drop there.
Hey, speaking of Norwegians, we also during our hiatus we missed out on Blink, which was almost a month ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Covered a little bit.
I did see a little bit on Eurosport.
Did you really?
On TV. Yeah.
It was fun. It was sort of like this island in the middle of this oasis in the middle of the biathlon desert. You know, you could sort of see it coming. It was out there, and then suddenly it was there. And the first thing you see is them roller skiing up a mountain, which is just lunacy. And then the next thing is just a shooting competition. It didn't matter. I was so excited. I was so ready for it.
Yeah, and I remember now. I walked by, and then my dad was just like flipping channels, and I saw a biathlon. I'm like, "Oh, go back!" And I thought it was a live broadcast, and it was actually just like a 1 minute highlight or something like that. So, it's probably because I don't know if they had the rights to do the whole thing.
Oh, I don't know. Good question.
It was a highlight, but I was. So we had a number of times where both in Italy and Austria where we had like 20 hairpins in a row, and I was just picturing, these athletes, and I did see some more like later on from the Blink festival, and just the speed that they go up these hills, and trying to picture that on the roads that we were going on. It's just the thought of it,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's funny because I think Heidi Weng, won the race for the women, or the uphill, and just like I always feel like she was already there before Therese Johaug became the big star. So I always and Johaug is retired now, so I always feel like Heidi Weng must be old.
Yeah,
but I don't think she's really that old. And man, she was blasting up that hill, and like you said, Baiba, not fastest women or female athlete, but fastest biathlete, and she was fifth. Is that correct?
Fifth, you got it. 2:29 back.
Yeah, so her skiing is getting there.
Getting there, yeah. Well, she was a minute faster than here we go.
Breza-Boucher.
Was that?
Yeah, Breza-Boucher.
Yep. So I was going to show it off. You stole it from me. Remember how we worked so hard on that last year? Yeah. So and then Breza-Boucher and Chavot and Richard were all 8th, 9th, 10th. It looked like they were kind of skiing a little bit together. But yeah, I again, Baiba just ludicrous speed.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw any.
And they also do shooting competitions, right?
Yeah. Like they do like a
1 versus 1, and
so they do groups. So they do like they start out with 1, 2, 3, 4, a handful of 5 groups, I think, of shooting, and then the top however many advance onto the semifinals, and then the finals, and then they do a super final.
But is that with skiing, or is it just
no
shooting?
No, in fact, there are several of the guys would either do it barefoot or in their flip flops. It was kind of funny to watch, and it made me so nervous that one of these guys was going to trip over their bare feet or something and stub a toe and miss out. But I mean, it's nothing for them. Eric Perot, by the way, was our shooting champion for the men, and I guess he also won the women's. Or he beat the top woman. So it was it's pretty good.
And his skiing? You said Perot?
No, just in the shooting. Just in the shooting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Perot was the top. For the super sprint, Surum won. Christensen was second. So Christensen lost his title. He was sort of undefeated at Blink the last few years. And,
okay.
Yep.
And that was still that was roller skiing and shooting?
That was a sprint, the super sprint. Yeah. And then
do they still have that awkward bridge in there?
Yes, they do. Yep. Do you know who won the women's super sprint? No,
nope.
You wouldn't. It was Simone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Simone, she defeated Elvira in a sort of duel. It was kind of neat to see those two going head to head in Blink. Just middle of the summer, and you've got two women who could be competing for the overall going head to head for a relatively meaningless race. That was kind of fun. And these are competitive people as well. It was a lot of fun.
You're talking head to head, and of course, combined with the name Simon, makes me think of the other head to head with Breja Boucher and Simon.
Yeah.
Is there any news on that? Because I thought it was kind of said and done, and then I remember reading an article that they were going back to the courthouse or something.
Yeah, nothing I saw.
Oh no, I shouldn't say that. Not back to the courthouse. I read a statement that Simon was quoted saying something, which she then said that was either out of context or not something she said. That I remember reading that about it, but.
So then, we actually have some really alarming news. I think that Johannes Tingnes' his career is probably over. He finished 11th in the super sprint. He had 4 misses, and it was really a minute and 1 second back of Surum. So I think it's probably time to honor his career, and probably everybody else will celebrate now that he just doesn't have it anymore.
So a question for you.
Yeah.
Which Bo brother is going to retire first?
They'll go out hand in hand. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh.
I think at this point we're so close to the 26 Olympics that I can't imagine Tarjei not sticking around for them, right? If he's coming back for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that his desire is there, but depending on how this season is going to go, it might be.
He was in second place. He was challenging.
I know.
We're talking about whether he's going to be on the World Cup team in 2 years.
Well, what if he's only 4th or 5th?
I know. It could be a real struggle, right? What do you do? And then they had it was cool. They actually had mixed relays in the at Blink this year, and. The super team of the Bo brothers with Juni Arnekleiv and Caroline Knoten, won the mixed relay over Fabien Claude, Jacqueline Chavot, and Breja Boucher.
Did they also do mixed with one woman, one man? I thought I saw
they did a single mix as well. So Jean Monod and Vion won the single mix over Simone and Perot. And Hannah Oberg and Martin Nevland actually came in 3rd. What a team.
Hannah?
And the Fem Steinovik siblings came in 4th. I didn't even see that. Wasn't paying attention.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Was Hannah Oberg and Ponsloma together?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And do you happen to know if our good friend of the past from Iceland and her brother, did they participate?
Oh, did I get that right?
Oh, yeah. My apologies. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't want to be
not
wrong.
The same.
I did not see them. There.
Anything else that stood out? Did you watch the cross country skiing as well, or just a biathlon?
I had it on, but I wasn't paying attention. It was just it was like sort of just smooth background noise, and just nice to have it on. But I wasn't totally locked in. I really enjoy, like I said, Blink is the oasis in the biathlon desert. I don't take it seriously much at all, but it's just really fun to have it there. Just like this, sort of silly fun competition.
And from what I remember previous years, the athletes also don't take it too serious.
They were shooting in bare feet.
The uphill race is maybe the most prestigious part.
Yeah, and I think after that it's just fun.
fun. Yeah.
Before
busy,
we move on,
right? A lot of crowd.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the crowds are amazing. And this is the coolest thing. So the shooting, they've got the shooting right in the middle of town, and well, at least it seems in the middle of town. And they've got the audience, like the stands behind them, and it feels like it's wedged in between two buildings, two stores. And it's just like the coolest little venue for a shooting competition. I really enjoy it.
Is there anything else on Blink?
I think that was.
So Blink is not like, do you, at Blink, it kind of feels that biathlon is a bit of a side, like it's not the main attraction.
Yeah.
And Martin Fourcade, that's purely biathlon, right?
No, there's cross country too, but I think the biathlon is it's sort of inversed. So there's cross country as well, but it's much more emphasis on the biathlon aspect. Just a couple last things. There were some national championships that have already taken place. A lot of them are still to come, including I think the Germans and the Italians are this weekend. Somebody else is this weekend too, but I can't remember who it was. But we had the Swedish summer champs, the Belgian national champs. Interesting note: this was the first year that the Belgian national champs were a part of I guess they're an IBU regional event, so it gets a little money from the IBU, and so it's kind of neat for them.
And they have that new stadium, right? Did they open the stadium? Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, and might be one of those things. We talk about summer biathlon. Might be seeing them in Belgium, which would be a totally new venue, right? Just a totally new place. That'd be kind of neat too. And then the U.S. had this summer series that they did, where they did 3 different races across the United States, culminating in their. I guess there was the U.S. championships, but also the North American championships, because they had some Canadians there as well in Vermont. So,
but they also often do national championships, but there's still other nations.
Yes, yeah.
That take part, right? Yeah.
But I think
just had this.
The U.S. ones were, I think, double branded.
Belgium and
yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The U.S. ones were double branded as the U.S. Biathlon Summer Champs and the North American Champs. That's why I mentioned it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was going to say, when we're talking about Belgium and then about potentially new venues, could you imagine? I don't know if you follow Formula One at all, but could you imagine like the biathlon race on Spa-Francorchamps?
Could you imagine it in Miami?
Yeah. Well,
you could do it. I mean,
Florida.
It'd be crazy. Yeah, that'd be pretty wild. Just quick stuff from Sweden. There were a handful of athletes that did not compete for one reason or another. And so, like, Sarah Anderson was not there. Anna Magnusson was not there. Lynn, shoot. I was told how to pronounce this, and I'm going to say it wrong. It's formerly Lynn Pearson, but do you remember how to pronounce her new name?
Guest Blom. I don't know. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but it feels like one of those names that there's not too many things that can go wrong, but other than the name itself. And Lynn, formerly known as Persson, did she stop a little earlier in the season and had surgery?
So yeah, so she did. You are correct. She did. She did stop a little bit early last year, because she had that. She had to have another shoulder surgery on the same shoulder she had surgery on the year prior, and she just needed to have a full recovery. And so she wasn't there either. But yeah. So and then the other thing I was going to mention was Ponchaloma was. He was there. He was recovering from groin surgery.
Okay.
Yeah, and then apparently, I read in the article on the Swedish site that there was a bunch of colds that went around the last week of their training camp leading into the national championships. So some people raced one race or two races, but didn't race all the races, and because there were some colds that were floating around, but.
Right.
But I mentioned Ponchaloma in particular because he didn't look great, and he said that he didn't feel great in the first race, in the sprint when he got third, and then he apparently was amazing in the in the individual and the roller skiing because he just sort of blasted everybody else off the course. So I don't know what he did in between the sprint and the individual, but he obviously recovered well. And yeah.
And there was that strictly biathlon, or was it combined as well?
The roller skiing was just roller skiing, but the individual was just a regular individual. So the roller skiing was basically just a ski race.
But only by athletes.
Only by athletes, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then was the shooting just shooting?
What do you mean?
Or were they also roller skiing? Like, was it a skiing and shooting?
They did a sprint, so just like a traditional sprint, and they did an individual. But they did not have just a shooting competition. They did just have just a roller skiing competition.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry if I misspoke there. I apologize. I think for the men, you can sort of guess that it's going to be Samuelson and Ponsaloma, kind of in the top, but Jesper Nellen was up there as well. I think on the women's side, Anna Karin Heidenberg, she bumped from the IBU Cup to the World Cup last year after some really good races on the IBU Cup. She won the Swedish championship for the sprint, and that's sort of her specialty. Okay. She's a sprint specialist. She should get to be on the World Cup this year. I really enjoyed watching her last year, so that was pretty neat to see. And then Hannah won the individual, and this is just a quote that she had from the write up about the race. So she talked about how it was the individual, right? So you got these staggered starts, and it just so happened that her last lap lined up with Elvira. So Elvira, like, sort of, she got a Elvira to pull her along, and yeah, exactly. So and ended up pulling her to the gold medal, which is kind of cool. So that was kind of nice. And then Elvira, of course, won the gold for roller skiing.
Do you remember if Hannah Oberg won by a margin in the individual, or was it pretty close?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look. Okay. I just wrote down the winners. I didn't write down the times, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was. It'd be funny if she only won by a couple of seconds.
I know. Yeah, it's a good athlete to be tucking in behind,
right? Yeah.
Or maybe too fast.
Yeah,
right?
You get torn apart. There was the Belgian championships. You mentioned this a little bit. Lotte Lee won both the sprint and the mass start. The Belgian championships had some young Germans joining them as well. So like Julia Tonheimer was second in both the sprint and the mass start. So she was there. Some good races from Maya Clotons. Florent Claude had a couple good races. Thierry Langer. Yep. So it was nice to see. And last,
and you said the Germans that participated were mostly young ones, and
mostly young ones, yeah.
See that there's some French athletes that were also.
Yeah, I think Jacques Jeffrey was there as well. Yeah, a couple of the French guys were there. Just nice to mix it in. It was really neat to see, and I'd be curious to know. Maybe I have to chat with one of them on social media, but how the decision was made for who gets to or who goes to that race, or I'd just be curious. I almost half expected to see the other Claude brothers there.
Right.
But yeah, it was interesting. Last but not least, excuse me, the U.S. National Championships. Like I said, they had this 3-race series, and the only one I actually followed was the quote unquote National Championships in Jericho in Vermont. And,
was it on TV?
It was not. No, I just watched the little results. I was doing something else and I saw the results pop up. So that was the only one I was keeping track of as what happened.
How did that
go? Kelsey Dickinson looked really good.
Nice.
It's American who she's had a couple of decent races, but she looked really good. She actually beat out Deidre Irwin in the mass start, which is pretty cool. We don't know how Deidre would have done in the sprint because she was disqualified. I don't know why, but yeah. Margie Freed had a good race, good weekend. Shiloh Russo, who you might remember because I incorrectly put her in the men's list for the Canadian team last year. Again, I sincerely apologize. The only Shilohs I know...
She's from Ottawa, right?
Are men. Yeah. So, so she raced over there as well and actually finished third in the sprint. which is pretty cool. And then as far as the men go, they all were pretty close. Germain, Doherty, Jake Brown, Schomer, Cervenka, Bonacci, they were all pretty close. I
was going to ask you about Schomer because last year, okay, not it's not a guarantee that he'll be on the World Cup, but
that's the crazy thing is that the Americans, like, there's finally some depth that's building in there. So yeah, I mean, like, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to have Campbell Wright, you're going to have Germain, you're going to have Doherty and Jake Brown as your top four. And then Cervenka, Schomer, Bonacci, there are a couple other guys that can fight for those last spots as well. So, I think they have, maybe they only have 4. I'd have to go back and check if they have 4 or 5, but.
Did any nation already talk about their main team, or? It's probably too early, huh?
I think besides setting just like who the on paper who the team is, I don't think that anybody else has really done anything. You know how they like there's like the almost like for administrative purposes, like there's like your A team or your national team or however they want to categorize it. They've done those, but nobody's really said like this is who we're rolling with in November.
Okay.
And that's it. That's what we've seen so far. We have Fourcade coming up.
Do you happen to know if it's going to be broadcast?
It will be. Yep. You can definitely. It will definitely be broadcast. Yep. And it's gorgeous. Definitely go watch it. Some great names are going to be there. I mean, Anna Gondler's going to be there. Tulip Dominguez, Chavot, Brazil Boucher, Lena Haki-Gross, Jean Monod, Vogt, Tangeville, Simone. Biba is not.
Do you know?
Biba's not going to be there.
No,
I wish.
Okay.
But she deserves some time with her family to celebrate.
Oh yeah.
Jakob Fox is going to be there. Philip Field Anderson. Haven't seen him in a little bit, but he'll be there. Johannes Kuhn, Jacques Land. So it's going to be a fun group. Did I mention Perot is going to be there? Yep. German championships.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in Jacques Land because he. I told you that, right? That when I posted the article, that he responded in a sort of a voicemail.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
But then I've reached out with him one more time to see if he had a chance to read more in a bit more time, but he didn't get back to me.
Probably didn't like the results. He said, no, I'm not talking to this guy.
He's losing my interest again.
No. Always the Jacques Land fans over here. The most interesting man in biathlon. Yes. Speaking of, Perot is making a run for it. He's I just find him very fascinating. I love his celebrations. He has a lot of personality, a lot of character, and I think that he could be an interesting dude.
The number one on a French team.
Well, do I have to say it out loud?
Yeah.
That's going to be Perot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Does QFM pass this peak?
So if I had to guess how they end up next year, I would guess Perot. I think they're all going to be pretty close. I don't think any of them are going to truly contend for the overall. I think Perot will be in there. I think he'll just be slightly ahead of Jacques Land and QFM. And I think that's how it shakes out in that order.
The relay team could be pretty amazing.
The relay team could be insane.
It's not like they were weak by any means.
But they could be truly contending against the I don't think the Norwegians are going to sweep up all the relays this year. There were some pretty boring ones last year, let's be honest.
Are they going to lose more than 2?
The Norwegians?
Yeah.
More than 2. So we're doing an over-under of 2. The number of relays they're going to run is what, 6?
I believe so, typically, yeah.
That's an excellent number to put it at, is 2. Because I have a hard time saying that they're going to lose 3. I don't know if they're going to lose half the relays. But saying that they're going to win 5 of the relays is also a pretty bold statement. I don't know. I think if I had to guess, I would say that they're going to win 5. I would guess more likely to be 5 than 3. Are you writing these down?
No.
My August 28th predictions?
Yeah.
If anybody's listened to a full hour of this, please write them down and keep me honest.
Any other... So we have Martin Fourcade this weekend. Because Wiesbaden hasn't been on.
It's actually in Dresden. I had to look it up, but it's in Dresden.
Oh, Dresden. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it will be
and that's still coming?
September 15th.
Okay.
And they have not announced all the athletes, because when I go to the athletes page, it just says empty blog post. So I think that somebody has forgotten to update the site here.
Yeah. All right.
Looking at it, it's really interesting. Lisa Vitozzi won last year, and that
in Dresden,
in Wiesbaden, yeah.
Oh,
kind of a good omen. Maybe we should be looking at this as a who's going to win
precursor for the yeah.
You win in Dresden, and you're going to be winning the overall.
Who won Dresden or Wiesbaden last year on the men's side?
Excellent question. I have no idea.
Don't tell me it's JTB.
It probably was.
Yeah, it could very well be. Yeah.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, I'm looking at that picture of the Martin Fourcade Nordic Festival, and it does look amazing. Do you know? Is it? It
was Lagarde
in the south, or
it's yeah. So this is a quote from last year. Now I know what it's like to be Johannes Bo.
Yeah, not quite.
I think it's in. Where is it? Is it in Annecy?
No, because Annecy's in the mountains.
This is in the mountains too. Where's Biathlon stats? We need your help. By the time you listen to this, it's already going to have happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's an Annecy.
Oh, there you go.
We could go. We have to hop onto a plane right now.
Party, eh?
We could make it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so gorgeous, isn't it? Do you see that picture they have on their main page?
Flying though. We literally from our alarm in Holland when we got up to arriving in Calgary, walking in our door was 23 and a half hours.
Oh, that is brutal. Man, I would love to go to this someday. Just to
I really think we should just take a year off and just make it a biathlon year.
I'm totally on board. But just to
follow Anna Gantler with all her funny videos and
right?
Just
we could be in them. We could be in the videos.
Camps. Yeah. Just crashing her videos.
Yeah, we just show up in the background all the time. Yeah. I think she'd eventually take out some protective.
Oh, just keep doing it. And then at some point she's just not going to bother editing us out anymore.
We're training her for shooting, so she doesn't get bothered when she's shooting. That's really what it is.
There you go. Yeah.
It looks gorgeous. I think just to build this in as part of a summer trip would be amazing. This is just a day you go to. Anyway. All right. Let's get out of here.
Yep. It's great to talk biathlon again. I just started doing some work for the local Alberta biathlon group. So I'm getting into the biathlon mode again after being away for a while. So.
And we have about 17 interviews lined up. We've been holding them for the last run. I actually was counting them up. We're basically be doing interviews every week from now until the beginning of the season to get these things done. But they actually,
if
our
we
first
can fit
one,
them all in.
we are recording an interview with a athlete that nobody will guess next Wednesday, and then we'll be off and rolling. We should have one every.
Is that what you're giving them so that they can guess? Is that we're recording on Wednesday?
They're recording on Wednesday. That's it. That's okay. In order for us to record, here I'll give you this. In order for us to record, we have to set up we have to make sure that we have I think there's 9-hour time gap between. Ooh. Yeah, we have to make sure that is
you or me.
I think you. Yeah, you.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, that's the big hint. Nobody's gonna guess it, so I'm not worried about it. All right, let's get out of here. Nobody wants to hear me ramble anymore.
Okay.
All right. See you, man.
All right. Great catch up. Okay. Take care. Bye.